They are the national government, we are the national organization. It's the marriage. We have to live together. He crossed a line when he advertised about Coronel. The history of IMA is that we are born out of the Indian freedom struggle. Health is an orphan. Nobody wants to talk about health, even after the COVID pandemic.
Hello, welcome to PTI and to our show at 4 Parliament Street. Recently in the news were Baba Ramdev and his company Patanjali, who received a tongue lashing from the Supreme Court for their misleading ads about their product, which they claimed could cure COVID. What is less known, however, is that they were dragged to court by the Indian Medical Association. It is the largest private body representing doctors in India with a membership of 3.5 lakhs. Today on the show, we have the National President of IMA, Dr. R.V. Asokan, who will talk to us about the Patanjali incident, as well as many other issues that affect crores of Indians. Dr. Asokan is a practicing doctor who runs a clinic along with his wife in Kollam in Kerala. A native of Tamil Nadu, he has made Kerala his home. Dr. Asokan is a strong voice, a very strong proponent of modern medicine and for protecting the rights of doctors in India. Dr. Asokan, welcome to the show. I'll start off by asking you, IMA has won a lot of fans and accolades after you went after Patanjali, which was a very courageous thing to do, and a lot of people felt reassured that there is someone, at least someone who's looking after their interests. Now, Patanjali or Baba Ramdev is politically well connected. Can you just talk us through the thought process that went into IMA? Were there lots of discussions before you decided that no, enough is enough, we'll have to stop this person?
So first of all, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. He crossed a red line. We have been tolerating mediocrity in this country for too long. The profession also has been tolerating this. We have never been wanting to really prove us or something like that. But he crossed a line when he advertised about Coronel. And he said that WHO has approved it, which was a wrong statement. And then he went against the medical profession, saying that modern medicine is a stupid and bankrupt science. And he went against even the national interest when the national government was driving the vaccine. He said 20,000 doctors died after taking 2 doses of vaccine. And he was having a high profile that people believed what he said. That was the unfortunate part of it. And for IMA, whether it is big or this thing, he crossed a red line. So our leadership thought he has to be challenged. And it was in 2022 we entered into this. But the act, that is the Magic Remedies Act, and you need to channelize it through a legal. So what has happened in the Supreme Court? Is 2 or 3 years of hard work.
Is there any particular person in IMA, or was it you who suddenly said, this is wrong, he has crossed a red line, let me talk to all my colleagues and let us collectively do something? How did that happen?
See, our leadership, to inform you and the world, we have a political leadership in the sense who thinks about medical profession and acts how IMA should take. Normally of the past president, but in particular from our senior leader, Dr. Ketan Desai. So there was an internal meeting which was headed by him, right? And there were past presidents, and I was also there. I was a past Secretary General at that time. The Secretary General at that time was Jayesh Lile. So it was a common decision. In IMA, decisions are taken like this. We are a team. We see which is good for the profession. We also take a perspective which is good for the nation. Unlike many doctors' associations, the history of IMA is that we are born out of the Indian freedom struggle. We were part of the pre-independence Congress movement. Even today, our conferences are held in the same date of December 27th, which used to be the Congress date.
Did you face any pressure internally or externally when you went against Patanjali / Baba Ramdev? And secondly, Patanjali / Baba Ramdev have issued a public apology, not to the medical professionals, but to the Supreme Court for the press conference and advertisement that they carried. Are you satisfied with that? Is it done deal for you, or is there something more that you need from them?
Do you want him to apologize to the nation, first of all?
There was no pressure from any side, but there was a huge backlash and abuse from the social media in general, because they did not understand what is happening, or it was purposeful. We are not against traditional systems. We have lived with them all these decades. We respect each other. But somehow some section of the society thought we are anti-traditional systems. So that came. And as regards the public apology, you correctly said it's to the Supreme Court. And it's more about the contempt of the court rather than the substance of the thing. I think the court has not said its final this thing. We need to wait, because whether we are satisfied or not will depend on the verdict that the court is going to give. It's not about the apology that he has given. It's up to the court to tell us whether he crossed that line by abusing modern medicine.
Apart from criticizing and taking action against Patanjali, the Supreme Court expanded the scope of the petition, or rather said that IMA also needs to put its own house in order. And Supreme Court also pulled up the IMA over doctors prescribing expensive and unnecessary medicine. And the strongest comment against the IMA was that you have taken the people for a ride also.
Well, this was a very unfortunate comment by the Supreme Court of India. Very unfortunate comment, because this was not the issue that was front of them. We sincerely believe they need to look at what is the material before them. They have, they perhaps did not consider that this was not the issue that was being there in the court. So there was one thing very unfortunate, that it was not objective. And look at the thing that had there to say, that was a very vague and general statement which has demoralized the doctors. You can say anything, but still majority of the doctors are conscientious or practicing according to the ethics principles. There might be somebody, that is true of all professions, but that doesn't behove the Supreme Court to take a broadside against the medical profession of the country, which after all sacrificed so many lives for the COVID war.
The Supreme Court made some caustic observations against the IMA. What they exactly said was, if we can point one finger at Ramdev, then we can point 4 fingers at you meaning the IMA.
So maybe true. I am not denying that fact. We are constantly upgrading our members on the ethic principles and the way to change. Ethics, after all, changes with time and space. Right? Today, what you perceive as right may not be right after 10 years. So this is a constant process, and we keep on doing that.
You are a practicing doctor, you run a hospital in Kollam in Kerala. You have been handling the problem of biomedical waste. You have been very vocal about public-private partnership in the fight against AIDS. Just tell us how this journey progressed.
Well, it's a journey. It has been a journey. It has been a very wonderful journey, and both satisfying as a doctor as well as an activist for health. It has been very satisfying. I have been into practice for the past 42 years. My wife is also a doctor. We run a small hospital, and we are satisfied with our, the patients, how they, treat us, how the small town respects us. So we are a sort of the old doctors group, perhaps. Well, regarding the public side of my life, one of few contributions will be, today the biomedical waste of entire Kerala, including the COVID period, is being handled by a project which was my presidential project in Kerala. We bought 26 acres of land and established a biomedical waste treatment and disposable plant scientifically. And today it is catering to all the institutions, both private and government, medical colleges to clinics. More than 15,000 institutions are being catered. 68 tons of biomedical waste is accumulated, treated scientifically. So we actually protected the Kerala state when COVID struck. We had one facility which made a difference. The second, my contribution, if I can say that, I aligned the private doctors with a national health program in tuberculosis. There is so much that has been done by India in tuberculosis control and care. Our program is one of the best public health programs ever produced by man. And we are aligning them together. That is my contribution. And I was also into the hospital board of IMA, where we understood that quality is important if the small and medium hospitals have to survive. So we discussed with the NIBH. They created an entry-level certification for us. And we have, since then, IMA has facilitated 1,600 hospitals, smaller hospitals, into NIBH certification. So this is what my journey has been.
So, Dr. Asokan, 4 years from now, the IMA will turn 100. You have a lot of legendary doctors occupying the position which you are in right now, including Dr. B.C. Roy. But there were some dark days also for the medical fraternity. I'm specifically referring to the tenure during Dr. Ketan Desai being arrested for corruption charges. Then MCI was superseded by the NMC, National Medical Commission. Then there were protests against the NMC bill. Then, so you also led the protest. So how's the situation now? And could you tell us a little bit about those protests? And I'm specifically asking this question because recently I read that you have been described as a firebrand chief of Indian Medical Association.
That's a compliment. But anyhow, going back to in time, subversion of MCI is not about corruption. Those who can read between the lines can understand that it was the government's inability or that they wanted to control that process. MCI was autonomous. MCI stood up on its legs many a time and derecognized institutions which were not in their good books. There were a lot of difficult things which the government wanted some control over there. And let me correct you that Dr. Ketan Desai was never convicted. It will be very unfair to him to project him in that light because he is a bona fide good citizen and a valued member of medical profession. And he was the president of not only IMA, Medical Council, as well as WMA, World Medical Association, and still plays a very good part in the direction in which the medical profession goes. Regarding NMC, we lost our autonomy. Their question was, how can a profession regulate itself? That was the question on which they tried to bring in. And today we have an NMC which cannot say anything to the government. It's being run from the ministry. They are not independent. Even the chairpersons of the NMC have confided to us that what we expect from them, they are not able to deliver. They are not even able to say a word about anything else. If they want to have an independent opinion, it's not independent, which is not in the best interest of the country or the profession. NMC should be independent. NMC should take certain important decisions. And it has been built into its genes, which is not acceptable to us. The main issues is the medical pluralism that has been built into it. Section 32 speaks about middle-level practitioners. And they have not defined middle-level practitioners. What they say is anybody who has anything to do with the modern medicine, which will go back to optometrists, physiotherapists, anybody who has something to do with modern medicine cannot become medical doctor. And this is the middle-level practitioner that they are looking at. Section 50 openly talks about corrupting the modern medicine by a curriculum, which will be a mixed curriculum. And Section 15 talks about the fixing of charges in the medical colleges. Whereas in all the states, there was a mechanism where almost the entire medical seats were fixed. The state charges fixing authority was there, led by a judge, and it was very fair. Today, the NMC cannot fix charges more than 50%. And when they fixed it at 40%, because of IMA's protest, they converted into 50%. Rest of the 50%, it is open market. Because they were converting something which is already existing, which was institutionalized. They broke that institution and threw open 50% of the seats to open bidding. So these were the things. We are not happy with the NMC. It's an open secret. I don't think there are two opinions about it. We are not happy at all with the NMC because again of the next is a examination which has been designed for Indian medical graduates. In concept, this is wrong. When you go to a foreign country, they want you to write an examination. Fair enough. They are licensing practice. If our children coming out of our medical colleges, if they have to write a licensing examination, that is preposterous. We will never accept that. We cannot accept that. That concept is wrong. There is an alien to Indian thinking. They are copy-pasting somewhere. Right now, we are the frontier of modern medicine. I can say this very proudly. You can get anything done in India by our doctors, any procedure, for a fraction of a cost. So I think there is no copy-pasting. We are the leaders.
So Dr. Asokan, if you will not accept this examination, then how does it creates, puts you on a warpath with the government? Then how will you resolve this? If push comes to shove, what happens?
It's for the government to resolve. They are the national government, we are the national organization. It's a marriage. We have to live together. We fight each other, but we work with each other.
Cohabitation.
Not cohabitation. It's a marriage. It's a marriage. We work with them. We fight with the national government, but that doesn't mean we have anything, inimical about the government. Come on, whatever government it is, it's our government.
But what if they ram it down your throat and they insist that this is how it will be?
It's a democracy. We will play the game. We are playing the game now. We are intervening in all the constituencies right now regarding our demands. 252 constituencies. As of today, we have intervened in the parliamentary process for the health agenda and also our demands, the demands of the profession. We are sensitizing the MPs beforehand.
Yeah, you were telling me about it.
Yes.
This is the manifesto that you have created and you are giving it to every candidate.
Every candidate.
And what is the intention behind it is?
The intention is, they also have to know the game of democracy is creating a goodwill with everybody. The other way is agitation. Now, I do not want the medical profession to be pitted against the government in a fight. But there are other ways of doing it. Entering into their thought process actively.
So there was this huge controversy over the NMC logo. And, the IMA also spoke up about it. And there was this view that an organization such as the NMC should be religion neutral. And of course, there was this other argument that, it was that same image was there earlier, but fainter and in black and white. So the larger question really, of course, being what should be done, or should health bodies be religion neutral? And, what is your view on that?
Yeah, IMA's viewpoint was made very clear that, medical profession doesn't belong to any religion. Religion is a separate issue. And our oath also says that we will not deny care to anyone. So naturally, the body that represents the medical profession has to be neutral on everything, not only religion, political ideology and everything. Honestly, we didn't make it out when it was in black and white. That's truth. We admit to our, we didn't realize that because, we were looking at the content rather than the logo. But when it became colored, that was purposeful. And unless we make a point at that, whatever logo or whatever the bodies which are from of national institutions should be lined along with the Constitution. That's the only thing. Whatever the Constitution says, the institutions have to follow.
Obviously, we are in the middle of election. Somehow, health is a key issue, but it has never been a poll issue. So I'm sure you were talking about that. So if you can elaborate a bit more on this health manifesto and your charter of demands, what you expect from parties and candidates during elections?
Sir, health is an orphan. Health is an orphan. Nobody wants to talk about health, even after the COVID pandemic, where health acutely was felt as a matter of internal security even. We have not learnt any lessons. We continue to be in the same all is well. Our main thinking in the that has been given in the health manifesto, one is invest in health. Whatever is being invested in health is too inadequate. The nation spends around 3.9% of the GDP. And the governments all put together, both central and state, spend around 1.1 to 1.3 or something like that, which is hugely inadequate. We want the government to be in charge of health, invest in public hospitals, invest in public infrastructure, invest in public human resources, and a basic package as envisaged by the document High-Powered Expert Group of Planning Commission 2011, which says the basic package has to be ensured by the government for all citizens, whether they are poor or rich. Beyond that, they can buy care. And again, that the same document says that the government should buy strategically from private sector for people below poverty line. And the recent document of the Niti Aayog saying that the missing middle document says that 10% of Indians are, they can pay for themselves. 25% will be taken care by the Ayushman Bharat. And the rest of them, around 90 crores of them, are being thrown to the private health insurance. This is the document of Niti Aayog. After 10 years of Planning Commission document, throwing us to industry is not acceptable, insurance industry. It's a failed model. We see at the United States, a 20 trillion model. 20% of the American population doesn't have care. After spending 15% of that GDP, it will never suffice for us. And during COVID also, we did better than these affluent countries because of the steel frame of public health system we have. The poor had somewhere to go.
Dr. Asokan, I take your point about America being in the healthcare, it is a failed system. But on the other hand, you have the UK, which has got the NHS, which is also much maligned and it is not able to take care of the needs. So
well said. This is a very great question because we are different. That much we agree. Here in India, you are able to meet a doctor in most of the places at least, if you want to meet. This is not true about West. Even emergency care is many hours away. And you cannot meet a doctor that very easily. Today, we have done that in much lesser cost. Our contention is don't lose that. Don't lose that. We are the best model. We are the best model. How this is being done is India's healthcare, in spite of everything. The difference is, again, the middle. You have a government sector, you have a for-profit corporate sector. But in between, There is a small and medium hospitals run by doctors throughout the country. And because they work more than what is stipulated, they are family enterprise. And they are at your doorstep. Now, all the regulations and all the things which are coming up are eliminating this sector. They are not being taken care of. So, the answer to your question is, the difference is the entrepreneurship of the medical profession in India is unique. It's an asset. It should be preserved.
We should not lose it. Yeah.
You're an allopathic doctor, and as an allopathic doctor, do you think Ayurveda is a kind of valid medicinal approach?
I will also add homeopathy to it. I have my own views about homeopathy, which I will not discuss here, but Ayurveda and homeopathy.
Sir, all streams of medicine is legacy of mankind. They are streams. They are streams of thought processes. Even modern medicine before 4th century, it was different. We have refined ourselves by evidence basing it, by trying and reproducing things. So it's a question of refining whatever is available. So I think all streams of medicine have something true in them. And they need to be practiced in purity. And we have existed in with respect with each other. If you look at some areas, it may be difficult for one system to accept another system. But as such, we have never crossed each other. No tradition, not the traditional, not the homeo, not modern medicine. We have not crossed each other. We are ready to work together, and it's for the patient to decide. Open, they can take care.
As long as they are not harming you.
Yeah.
Sir, in this connection, government has been trying to integrate the modern and traditional medicine systems into the way science is practiced. Why is IMA against it then? What is the problem if the same set of people also treat in the same hospitals?
It's not of co-location. They are not talking about co-location. If you go back to our national education policy, the 4 committees of Niti Aayog, and how the Indigenous Council, Indian Council of Medical Research, behaved in including surgery into this thing, you see a pattern. What they term as medical pluralism is mixing it in curriculum, mixing it in clinical practice, mixing it in public health, and mixing it in research. The end product that you get, is catastrophic to the nation. It's our duty to tell the nation that whatever gains we have in these past 70 years, eradication of smallpox, eradication of polio, near elimination of tuberculosis, so many achievements are on the plate. There will be difficulties, like, crucial areas of vaccine. There are differences of opinion between the systems. And they don't believe in microbial theory. And surgery was once called vivisection by the other systems. There is a great saying that it was black magic also. I am not quoting the person. It's a black magic also. So I think we should leave it alone. Chinese traditional medicine, as per a publication in Lancet, no longer exists in China. China is the only country which mixed systems. With their Chinese traditional system, they mixed modern medicine. Modern medicine is robust science. Chinese traditional system is no longer there. And again, above 60 years, China gave Chinese traditional medicine during COVID to people above 60. And there was massive death in that age group. Whereas Indian vaccines prevented any such catastrophe.
So my question is related to Ayushman Bharat Health Insurance Scheme. So IMA is finding this scheme very revolutionary concept, but still not fully happy about it. So what are your concerns? That is one. Second question is, how do we ensure that people, public in general, prioritize health insurance over other expenses. So I would like to know your thoughts on these two questions.
To answer your first question, that it is a great vision. It's a great vision and we had great expectations. But even from the word go, it was structured poorly and underfunded to the limit that it will collapse. Why I say it was envisioned poorly, it was envisioned by the Prime Minister perhaps to provide to the below poverty line. But perhaps it was structured by Niti Aayog and the bureaucrats. And they saw to it 66% of the care now goes to the government hospitals. Right? The care in government hospitals is already free. So what is the new that the patient gets? Whether it is routed through plainly in the government hospital or through Ayushman Bharat, the patient doesn't get anything new. So the goodwill that had to be generated in the population didn't develop, that political dividend didn't occur. And they blocked the private sector from doing around 300 procedures they cannot do. And as per the calculations they themselves have given before the nation, we need at least 1,60,000 crores per year to run that scheme. It started with 6,800 crores. And it started, now it is 12,000. And their pricing is below our cost. What they say is that you need to have numbers to meet the thing. But numbers is industrial scale. Only industry will survive. Profession will not survive. And the second thing, healthcare seeking habit of people, I think it boils down. If you look at the model of Kerala, it again boils to the female literacy. If women are empowered to make decisions, they will make the right decision.
Today, a husband can't access to his wife's health record or vice versa. So with the Ayushman Bharat digital mission, is all that changing, you think?
This is a hot potato, sir. Today the real challenge has come before the nation to know what this ABDM is doing. What they are doing is wrong. They are exploiting the data of our citizens. There is no law under in the Indian statute under which ADHM is functioning. To that extent, it is illegal operation. And what they are doing, they are asking the hospitals to upload the discharge summaries. These discharge summaries are going to the state. Today, state cannot ask of any data other than pandemics, TB, notifiable diseases. Now, asking for data, which are very private, in the fig leaf of a consent. What is the quality of consent that an ordinary Indian citizen will be? Will he understand what is all about? It's not fair. It is very unfair on the part of the government to inflict ADHM on the nation. And the worst part is that there is a provision of data fiduciary. This term fiduciary, which should talk of a relationship between a father and a daughter, is being used. And who is a data fiduciary? Anybody who wants to use the data. And who are these people who are very interested in using the data? Private health insurance, pharma, foreign companies, and there is no security. Data security is not there. Confidentiality is not there. They are throwing open this data. This is not fair. So IMA has been saying this.
Dr. Asokan, actually, this was my question about the healthcare data. It's a serious issue world over, actually. And last October in India also, there was a huge controversy after there were reports that servers of AIMS and ICMR have been hacked. So India tried to pass DPEDP, and I don't know how stringent it is and how effective it is gonna be. So there are two questions. One, is IMA concerned about this data breach thing, which is going to be very huge for India? Secondly, do you think we need more stringent laws like the West to tackle this issue?
Certainly, IMA is certainly concerned. We are concerned because before last week, Andhra Pradesh government, as well as I have reports from Ghaziabad, that they are connecting it to Clinical Establishment Act. They had already connected it to the CGHS patients. Now they are connecting it to Clinical Establishment Act, which means that practically every hospital in this country which has to be licensed. If you have a license, then you are linked to this data channel. And they are paying 40 to 50 rupees per discharge summary, which is blood money. They should not do this. And the cosmetic changes that they have done is not adequate. We need to, from the Data Protection Act, government exempted itself, which is atrocious. Why should government be exempted from Data Protection Act? The data belongs to the nation. The data doesn't belong to the government. So government also should be included. And again on ABDM, even if they right now tell that the national government guarantees that this data will lie only within the four walls of the national government, we are ready to work with them. When you throw it open to pharma and insurance and even to foreign companies for a price, even though it is anonymized, then we are not game. At least even if you are alone, we will certainly raise that voice.
Given your strong views, do you think IMA will explore legal options?
Yes, we are preparing for it, and we have raised 6 questions to the CEO of ABDM. What is the law under which you are functioning? And who are these data fiduciaries? Very uncomfortable questions we have put to them, and we are waiting for a response. And at least in Andhra Pradesh, our state unit is going to approach the High Court.
I want to know your views on violent attacks on doctors and paramedical staff in hospitals. And do you think that we have a robust law to deal with this kind of issue? The violence doesn't limit only to the physical violence, it's verbal violence, verbal abuse also.
Social media violence also. You are right, but I don't see violence ending any soon. It has become a part of the culture. It's because of high expectations and the unmet needs. And it will not stop by a law. But at least we are asking that a central law be in statute. There is a law protecting the airline staff. We are asking the government, if the airline staff are so special for the country, that doctors, please give us some protection also, we are asking. There are 23 states which have passed laws, but they are ineffective on the ground. And the amendments to the Epidemic Diseases Act was very useful. So we are also asking, so you wanted the doctors to be protected during the corona pandemic and not on ordinary times. That also looks funny.
IMA has been demanding re-envisioning of the Preconception and Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act, which prohibits prenatal diagnostic techniques for determination of the sex of the fetus.
Yeah.
So what exactly are you seeking?
If there is one law we want to be taken out of the statute, it is PCPNDT. It doesn't deserve its place. We have no difference of opinion about saving the girl child. Our common objective is one. And presuming the doctors to be culpable, that anti-life, that all doctors, is very wrong. We are part of this nation. We have a stake in preventing female feticide. But the methodology that PCPNDT has taken, we don't agree. It's with the methodology because it has caused so much difficulty for the doctors. And an instrument which can mean a difference between life and death. My wife is a gynecologist. I have seen so many of the situations when the diagnosis was razor thin and it saved lives. And this machine is something more than a stethoscope today. And the regulations that have come up on it are very unfair, that you cannot move this machine from this room to another room. And if you buy the second machine, that I am accountable. You cannot sell this machine. And the rules that have come, like filling up a Form C, Form F, is equal to female feticide. A big institution like Honorable Supreme Court has said, if you don't fill up Form F, you are committing female feticide. How is it acceptable? Before 15 days, a gynecologist in Coimbatore was imprisoned for 3 years, convicted and sentenced for 3 years on this count of not filling up forms. When they conceived this law, normal pregnancy was not even in the indication. An instrument which defines the contours of pregnancy, because it is NGO driven. The law is NGO driven, inflicted by the Supreme Court of India. There is a layman perspective in the law. And later, on IMA's insistence, pregnancy was ordered. So we are having a workup, brainstorming in the country. We are thinking that why not detect sex, detect the female child, and then protect that child. It is possible. It is possible. Instead of going the other way, go the next way, tag that child, see what happens to her, follow that mother, and see that the girl child is delivered normally. Right? For a social evil, you cannot have a medical solution.
But is that practical, you think? Is that workable and practical?
Let us discuss that. Let us discuss that. What will happen if you don't correct the social evil? Female feticide will disappear. Female infanticide will happen. My doctor will be free of the crime, is it not? You look at my point. You are putting a whole medical profession on the dogs for a black sheep, right? Now I want the profession to be out of it. We are asking for redesigning that. We are not saying that it should be allowed. If this point is available or acceptable, you accept it. Otherwise, remove those harassment points. Right? Remove those harassment points. So it is one of the suggestions that has come up in our brainstorming. We are forming a document which will come up in the next Central Working Committee. And this will be certainly one of the suggestions. We want to provoke a discussion even in the Supreme Court.
One supplementary question on the medical negligence. Now the punishment is 2 years. I think is IMA trying to fight to make it zero, that they should not be culpable?
No doctor is criminally culpable. We may be answerable on torts, law of torts or civil law. We are not answerable on criminal because a crime is defined as having an intent. If there is no intent, there is no crime. Many people have walked free because the intent could not be proved. Where is the intent between a doctor and a patient when they said something has happened untoward, but there was never a criminal intention on the part of the doctor, right? Otherwise, if it is a murder, that's a different thing. But during the process of treatment, there is a death. There is no criminal intention. You cannot accuse the doctor of a criminal intention. Something might have gone wrong, right? But that we are answerable on the civil law. Civil law is adequate to handle with that situation. We will continue to fight for this. We are not satisfied with what the government has done. Government is, what they have done is, they have maintained the status quo.
2 years.
They have maintained the status quo. But that point has been taken. The Home Minister was so kind enough to say that between the doctor and the patient during a treatment, there is no murder. He said that in the floor of the parliament.
So when I was in college, one of the professions to fall back on was medical representative. A medical representative would go to doctors and give free samples of medicines. But we didn't realize at that time that there is a much larger action at play, which is the pharmaceutical companies. They obviously want to promote their medicines. So there is also now, not now, but there has been allegation that it is a form of bribery. And the pharma companies also use med reps or go directly to doctors, offer them junkets and even bribes. Is that a concern for IMA?
That's certainly a concern. The profession has to follow the etiquette that has been prescribed. The etiquette of 2002 of the Medical Council of India is certainly applicable. We do not expect the doctors to cross a line. They need to fall within that etiquette, and the pharma practices also recently were updated, and they also have quoted that medical etiquette of 2002 will applicable wherever we have not defined something. And this is also our demand that any industry, not only pharma industry, hospital industry, what is the ethics of the hospital? We need to define. What is the ethics of the diagnostic institutions of scan, lab and other things? We need to define. And our proposal is that any industry that has to do something with a patient should follow medical ethics. Whether they are hospital, industry, that doesn't matter.
So I have one more question, slightly out of syllabus, not really out of syllabus. This is about WTO and India's argument that on the fight, the conflict between generic medicines and the patented medicines that foreign companies produce. Their argument always has been that it requires billions of dollars for research to be conducted in producing this medicine. So generic medicine should not be allowed. What is your view on that?
IMA's views are also, world is not equal. And if there has to be justice, sometimes you have to look at equity. You cannot be equality. It's not equality, it is equity. You have to look at countries which cannot afford. And perhaps in the national interest, there is an exemption. There is an exemption between what has to be done. Recently, after all these electoral bonds and other contributions, there have been some relaxations even in our national rules, which is very mischievous.
On a serious note, this postgraduate medical education regulations, they come out with guidelines every year. Now, last year, they have told resident doctors should work reasonable hours. Now, it is not defined what is the reasonable hours, but it's a fact that the junior and senior residents, for them, 36-hour work or a 24-hour work is more a normal than an exception.
This is something very dear to us. Our young doctors are working 86 hours, 96 hours, 100 hours. When IT tycoon is saying that India should work 60 hours, my doctors are asking, please reduce our working hours to 60 hours. So that's it. They are overworked. We have plenty of doctors in India. We are the largest doctor producing country in the world, turning out 110,000 doctors every year from 706 medical colleges, and 112 medical colleges have been added before fortnight.
Dr. Asokan, no interview can be complete without a question on artificial intelligence. Do you think AI will, I wouldn't say replace doctors entirely, but will reduce the workload of doctors to a large extent? Will it be able to diagnose from remote locations?
Well, you look at any technologies. Medical profession is the first profession to use that because of the obvious nature. Whether it is any technology you look at, medical technology, medicine has absorbed it into itself. But nobody can replace a doctor. So long as the patient is vulnerable, the patient is in a situation where, he is so helpless, no science can treat him. Only that touch, that hope, that eye contact and the assurance, even though it may be sometimes may not be in alignment with the truth, that really gives the quality of life for him for his rest of lifespan. So I think doctor is always there because we believe art of medicine is superior to science of medicine.
But it will help in some ways.
Certainly. AI and telemedicine, already they have a place. Like the robotics we observed, we have recently in the Central Working Committee formed a group for AI and telemedicine and also on climate.
If you had not been a doctor, what would you have been?
I don't think I would be anything else.
This is the best profession in the world, you think?
Certainly. Any day, sir.
Dr. Asokan, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.